Hi guys, back with another episode of the Grapplers Academy. Today we're joined by guest Sam Quinn. We've got him on to talk about his training history, and in the second half we're going to be going through a match.
Yeah, we also cover a few questions that have been sent in by us and talk about his skateboard skills. Linked in with Shane Curtis's episode. We go into a bit of his mindset and talk about his injury rehab as well.
I think the first time I met you was, it's got to be about 6 or 7 years ago now. I think Alan Howcroft brought you down to 12 gauge one time to train with us, and I think you were still probably a blue belt at that point. I just started training in the gi, and I always never got the opportunity to ask you, but how long had you been training at that point? Like, where were you up to with your jiu-jitsu career?
I think that was only like 3 years ago, 3-4 years ago, because it was when I was with. Because I think in July I will have been training 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I got my blue belt, I think, like after a year, and then I think that was probably like 2 years into training when I came to train down at 12 gauge with you.
Right, okay. It probably might be closer to 5 years or the tail end of 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I think I've been training in the gi for about 5 years also, so must be around about that sort of time. So you've probably only been training about 12 months, maybe 12 to 18 months at that point.
Yeah, it will have been. Because I remember you subbed me then, didn't you?
it might have been the only time that it happened.
It's stuck in my head. I can't remember what you got with. I'm sure it was like a leg scissors. I just remember like every other round was an easy round. I was like, oh, it's just another white belt. And then you ended up like subbing straight away in the round. And I was like, oh shit.
Just get it in there early.
Yeah, and then I stalled for the rest of the round, I think.
Well, I remember you coming down. I was like, shit, blue belt, better do something decent.
I think first time I saw you, it might have been when I think I might have come to Stealth. Might have been. Or it might have been like around the comp circuit. Might have seen like kind of, yeah. Was it at Factory the first time we met?
I'm not actually sure, you know.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't Cams, was it? Because I knew you before you joined Cams.
Yeah.
I'm not actually sure where the first. Maybe you came down to Stealth.
Yeah, I think it might have been coming Stealth and training with you, and I think.
So I think up until like midway through Blue Belt, I didn't really go to many other gyms. Like, I just trained just at Stealth, and then when I started to do like a little bit more no-gi, then I started moving around a few different places while still training at Stealth. Yeah. So I reckon it will have been Stealth. Because I think I remember you from like white belt, but that might have been from just like watching you compete and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe. I think because I think when I was at purple belt, I had a bit of a spout of competing like more frequently. So yeah, it might have been around.
I remember you winning. Did you win the Brits at purple belt?
Yeah,
yeah. I remember that. Oh, was that in gi? I think it was gi, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I think that was the last time I competed in the gi.
Jesus Christ, that was a while ago. That as well. That was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
You still have hair at that point as well?
Yeah, I actually did.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
And it was 10 kilos lighter.
Yeah.
10 kilos lighter in a perm.
You have to stick that on your fans only now, mate. So has Stealth been the only place you've trained at over the years? Or that's always been your main gym? Yeah,
like Stealth's always been the main gym, and then I've like been down to Cams a bit, and we did quite a bit of gi training at Factory before us with Jacob and George. And then other than that, not really many other places. Like I've been and trained at places, but not like just like a one-off kind of if people have gone down.
So how did you get into it then? What was your background for martial arts? You do anything beforehand, or was it just the first thing you got into?
I didn't really do anything before. I played like a little bit of rugby and like football when I was younger, but nothing like serious. And I think my cousin started at SPG doing privates, and he started like a little bit of grappling in the private, and we were speaking about it on a night out at like 7 a.m. just outside some pub, and we was like, oh, we'll get into some wrestling. And we was both going to join SPG, but then because Stealth's like 2 minutes from our house. We just ended up joining there, and I think it was a better choice, to be honest.
Yeah, you got pretty lucky with that being 2 minutes around the corner, right?
Yeah. I think it's easier than going all the way into town to do it. Like, it was, if I would have started when I was younger, it would have literally been a 2 minute walk to walk to Stealth. So I could have been a black belt by now.
Instead, you just decided to stay at blue belt for the best part of 6 years or whatever.
Yeah, probably could have been a black belt anyway. Steve didn't hold back. Cheers, Steve.
Like when we talked about it before, like when you first started, you were like over 90 kilos, weren't you?
When I joined Stealth, I was 113 kilos.
Oh wow!
And I thought I was quite big because we went to the gym quite a lot, but it's just because I ate loads of food. And I had like big arms and shoulders, but I was just like fat as fuck.
You were still that bigger. You were still big guy when you came down to 12 gauge that first time. You must have been still close to 100 kilos at that point when you were at blue belt. Like when did you start dropping most of the weight?
Yeah, well, I went. It came off quite. I was like 113 when I started. Then after like 6 months, I was probably down to like 85-ish. And then I competed at 85, and then I tried to cut to lightweight. I think I got to like 74, 75, and I was like, no, I'm going back up. Then just started eating loads. And I think like around that time, that's when I came to 12 gauge. Like a couple of months after that, I was like back up to like 90 kilo then.
Yeah.
But I've gone up and down like so many times because I get to like around 90 and I'm like, I want to be middleweight again. Then I'll get to like 78 and I'm like, I want to be fat again. I just keep like bouncing up and down.
What do you feel comfortable at? Like, what would you just sit at if you didn't make any conscious effort about
it? I'd probably sit around 85, I think, because I'm like 86, 87 now. But that's without like trying to put on weight or without trying to lose it. Just like kind of eating normal and a bit shit kind of. But I think I'd do better at middleweight, so I'm gonna try and go back down. But it's quite a long road now. It's like 10 kilo.
Wow. So what would you switch up then? Like if you were trying to get back down to that middleweight?
I think I'd be able to do it just from like the actual eating because like I train enough. Like we've been training twice a day. I've still been like doing my strength and conditioning with Brotherhood, and like he's been making me do like lots of cardio type of stuff, and that just drops weight like super quick for me. But I think it's more like in my diet. Like if I cut a little bit of food out, I'll probably get back down to middleweight quite quick. But then I find it hard when I'm at middleweight because I'm like using a lot more of my energy because I'm like a lot quicker. Like I want to eat more and then I end up like putting on more weight kind of.
Yeah, that constant sort of balance of struggle,
trying
to keep the weight down and eating enough.
When I'm at 85, I don't really. I feel fine. Like I don't have to. I'm never normally that hungry, and I don't put weight on if I just eat what I normally do. But,
would you say that like fluctuation in your weight changes your game plan for jits, or do you pretty much play the same game depending on what weight class you've been in?
I pretty much play the same game because I just go to reverse Della and just wait until they do something. So I don't think that. I think my top game changes a little bit. Like if I'm like middleweight, I've got like a lot quicker passing kind of. Whereas now I'm just kind of like slumping on people and hoping they let me past. It's not working that well, to be honest. I should probably learn some passes.
And like from an S&C point of view, like what do you have? What do you get prescribed for your workouts, and like what do you actually enjoy doing? Because I know a lot of times some people get workout programs that they don't enjoy doing, and they just kind of do them for the point of doing them. Is that the case, or do you enjoy the workouts that you get, or is there some things that you enjoy doing more than others?
To be honest, I don't really like doing any of them. Like I don't enjoy lifting at all. To be honest. I enjoyed doing a bit of the rehab stuff because it was all just like resistance band work. But anything like lifting heavy, I'm not really a fan of. Like I just do it because Andrew tells me to do it.
Is that for any particular reason? Like, do you feel beat up from doing it, and like you can't do the same performance on the mats, or just don't enjoy it?
I think it's just that I just don't enjoy it, to be honest. Like I only do it just to help me with my jiu-jitsu, don't I? So like, if I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu, I probably wouldn't lift.
Rugby as well.
Pardon?
Did you do any S&C when you were doing rugby?
Just what they had us doing in the gym at the time, but it was just like squats, benching, and deadlifting. There wasn't really like much else. But we was only like 6. I only did that from like 13, 14 to like 16, 17. So wasn't that long, to be honest.
Not fair. So do you feel a difference when you're not lifting then in your jits game, or is it sort of, do you not really notice it too much?
But I've not really had that much time off lifting since doing it before Brotherhood. Like I didn't really lift that much because I'd get consistent with it for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then just fall off for like 2 months. Whereas now with Brotherhood, I'm like consistently lifting like 2 or 3 times a week. So I've not really noticed the difference of like not being on it now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you doing anything like just from a recreational point of view outside of jits? I know there's a bit of a skateboard battle going on between you and Shane Curtis at the moment.
Yeah, well, I've not even been on that now for like since starting training like 3 weeks ago. I don't think I've touched the skateboard. I'm too scared I'll get injured now. Like before that, I was like, if I get injured, I'm not training. Whereas now, I don't want to. I'm already sore now from training. I don't want to fall off a skateboard as well. Especially
That
being
might
this.
answer the question that he sent through anyway. He said, "Can he land an ollie yet?"
No.
On the ground.
I was trying to do that like on grass, and it's like the hardest thing ever. And I'm not doing it on concrete. It'll just hurt.
So that's not going to be the entrance onto the mats then. Ollie onto the mats straight into reverse del Eva.
No, we need like a foam pit at the bottom, and I'll just jump off. It's gone. Shane's won that one.
So with sort of like your training, you said that you had like a phase where you were training only gi, and then you sort of went to that no gi like bit more. What sort of switched in your mindset with that?
I think just from the people like training in the gym, because we have like from like 5 o'clock at Stealth to like 7 p.m. There's like a big group of like no-gi guys down. So like I just ended up like because they was doing that, I was jumping a bit more and then just enjoying that a bit more. But then like when it come back to like gi competitions, I just go back into the gi. Whereas now I don't think I will do much gi anymore. I'm just enjoying doing no-gi. I think because it's just harder.
Yeah.
But easier at the same time. Isn't it? Nobody's like slowing you down.
Oh, that's fair. But then like your grips, everything are completely different, aren't they? Like, and especially if after a few rounds everyone's a little bit sweaty. Just up.
But the main game I play, like it kind of goes like well, gi and no gi, because I'm not really in the gi. I don't use gi grips in the game that I play really. Just I just hold the ankle from reverse dollar. I don't really do much else with the gi grips.
Fair.
So, like in the gym, then, who would you say your main training partners? Have you got like a core group of people that you basically do any gi and no gi with, or does it change up?
It pretty much stays the same. Like we kind of have like a little group that just comes down and we just do our own training and then stay for the classes and just roll with everybody else. But there's probably about like six, 7 of us that just train like 5 till 7 like every single night. And some people go home, some people stay.
Fair. So how many hours a week do you reckon you'll be getting then, like pre-COVID or once everything's sort of back to normal?
We was doing the morning classes, which were like an hour and a half every day. But it was like you'd show up at 10:30, listen to Jacob talk shit for half an hour, and then do like an hour of rounds. So we do that like 3 times a week, and then probably like 3-4 hours every single night. But not going like super hard in those 3 or 4 hours. Just kind of like drilling quite a bit of stuff, and then just doing like positional rounds and a lot of like 10-minute rounds.
Oh, fair.
So it is an interesting one for me then. Like from that point of view, I think those daytime classes, are they the ones that you're coaching, or you're coaching a couple of them, aren't you? Or you?
Yeah, I was teaching 3 in the morning, but it started off just kind of teaching that because that's what Steve wanted me to do, and then it just ended up just being like show up and just do rounds kind of. But I think he's pretty back to like doing a bit of technique now.
So how do you find coaching, or like what element do you think coaching brought to your game, if any? So like the think about or having to kind of think about your techniques and translate it over to somebody else who's learning it. Like, did that improve your game on the mat, or did it get you thinking about anything any differently?
It does. It helps me with my game because I don't really think about techniques that much. I just kind of do, you know, what my body does. Like, I have like a set thing that I go to every single time, and that's all I really do. Like, I don't try and like think outside of that. So when I'm teaching, I have to like relearn my whole game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it is good for me because I find like little things where I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even realize I was doing that. But I don't really like teaching in front of like more than like 2 people though. So I don't think a gym's on the cards. I think maybe just 1-to-1s.
Fair enough.
Do you find it easy to get your point over from that point of view, or is it just like, you know, the way that you like teaching suits better for smaller groups?
I think it does just suit better because I don't like. I don't know, when I'm teaching like 1-to-1s, it's easy just to like put this here, do this, do that. Whereas like you kind of need to teach the concept if you're teaching to a class, don't you? And I don't really know many concepts. I just know the techniques that I do.
Well, I think me and Simon have chatted about this quite a bit over the past, obviously, as well. Like, I really enjoy and think the benefit of coaching is massive because it helps you self-analyze your own game, and then you get to understand your own, because you'll have concepts that you'll use, but you might not necessarily identify them straight away. So it kind of helps unlock that a little bit from my point of view. So definite benefit from continuing with that, whether it's 1-to-1s or class or whatever.
Yeah, it does help. Especially for just breaking my own game down, like you said.
I guess it gives you that deeper understanding of the techniques that you're doing and sort of the why behind it all as well, and why you might adjust things, or if they do this, you can transition to X, Y, and Z as well.
Yeah. Well, I find that if I'm teaching, like, especially if I'm teaching like reverse tailoring privates, like, it kind of gives me an opportunity to figure out what they're going to do as well. So I find like new little ways whilst I'm teaching, which is like helping me more than helping the person I'm teaching.
Oh, definitely. And that's part of the beauty of coaching as well. Like, you get asked questions that you're not necessarily going to think of yourself.
Yeah.
And the answers through that way as well.
Especially if you're rolling with the same people, you're never going to find like the different paths are you? Whereas like somebody asking like a question they think stupid kind of like helps me sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So with things like that as well, like when you're training for like a comp or just sort of training for training's sake, do you switch up your approach to training, or do you try and keep it the same?
It's normally like always the same. Like we've never really changed how we train, especially like the group we have that gets down like that 5 till 7. Like it's always just been like, because we're all training on the same days. We're all sore when we are, all sore when we're not. So we kind of like have our days where we go into drill, and the days we just go in to do rounds. And everybody's kind of on like the same like wave of like being sore and not being sore, kind of.
Yeah. So like your main training partners that you're getting in with over the course of the week, is it like a mix of different size guys, experienced guys, or is it a mix of guys and girls? Just tying in with the question that we got from Violet as well, which I'm quite interested for you to hear your opinion on, is like, what's the benefit of rolling with women as well and training with females?
It was a tricky one at first because I am like, especially with Violet, I'm like 20 kilo heavier than her. I think she's like 67 kilo. So I had to just get used to kind of, you know, like not like babying, but not breaking her, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So like it kind of like I had to, instead of using my strength in rolls now, I just try to move like super quick. And then I don't know, it's hard to explain that. It's definitely different because you've got to be like more careful with them, if you know what I mean.
Would you say it's more different from just rolling with somebody that's just a lighter weight in general? So if you were rolling with like a 60, 65 kilo bloke in training?
They do have different strengths, don't they? Because like if George Gardner's the same weight as Violet, and I can roll harder with him than I can with like some people that are like 90 kilo. So I think it just depends on the person. Like I don't roll light with Violet. Like she beats me most rounds, to be honest. If I try and like turn it up, because sometimes we speak. Me and do you know Hader from Stealth?
Yeah.
We were speaking about this, and with Violet, we're like, oh yeah, we'll let her do that. And then when she gets to a really good position, we're like, right, we're going to stop it now. And you kind of can't stop it. So we're like, we'll let her do it just to make us feel better. But I don't know. I think with smaller people, you shouldn't be going like super hard anyway, unless it's the type of person that goes super hard, like George and like Max as well.
I suppose that's kind of a good point, isn't it? Actually, like training with women in particular for blokes and maybe guys who normally would like put a bit of ego into the role, and like it probably takes that ego out of it quite a bit, doesn't it? And just lets you relax and play a different game to what you play with your main training partners.
Yeah. You can kind of chill out, but she also does sub me quite a bit as well, so I'm kind of used to being subbed by her. But I don't really mind. I enjoy getting subbed off people. Like if somebody subs me in the gym, it's kind of like a win for me as well, isn't it? Because the level's coming up.
Yep.
So I don't see it as like, oh, he's subbed me, I need to try and get him back. It's kind of like, oh, he's subbed me, I have to fix my game now. Like his has gone up, I need to bring mine up.
Did you find like at a certain point in your training that you were kind of like actively going out to look for people who were better than you that were going to sub you so you could get that benefit in training?
I think I was trying to do that from like the start. I think just trying to get like the best rolls I could. But just because like when we started, I had no idea what I was doing, obviously, and I was like really fat, so I was just trying to get like smashed off anybody just to make the rolls harder. So it's like, I don't know, just so I could get used to it more.
Like
But now I just look for the easy rounds though. George Gardner.
Like, how have you found like the rehab then with your shoulder? Like you said that you've, I think sort of COVID came around like quite an appropriate time for you, didn't it, with your injury? So have you found like the rehab process and like you say, how is it feeling now then?
I think that COVID definitely came in at the right time, because just before, like my shoulder was so bad before the lockdown, and I'd started to kind of go back to stealth, and I was like flow rolling a little bit. Like it was like quite a bad idea thinking back on it, but I probably would have ended up going like straight to sparring like the week later and being like, oh yeah, it's fine. I remember the physio was telling me like not to do that, and I was like, oh no, it'd be okay, it feels good. And I'd do like a little bit of drilling, get home, and I couldn't lift my arm up. So I think the lockdowns helped, because I enjoyed like doing that program. I think because I was just like rested. Just so when I was going to do like, all the exercises, I could put like 100% into all of it. I don't think I would have done that if we hadn't been in lockdown, because I would have been at the gym like trying to tire myself out in like weird positional rounds. Yeah. Just anything that like wasn't putting it onto my shoulder. Whereas like with the lockdown, I got to just focus just on getting my shoulder better.
Fair. So has there been any other sort of like methods of training that you've adopted during this lockdown and during like your sort of rehab period to keep your sort of mind grappling sharp?
I've been watching quite a lot of stuff, and I think in the rounds that we're doing now, I'm kind of like accepting getting tapped a lot more just to kind of like not get injured, if you know what I mean. There's like some positions I'll get put into where I'm like, that's going to injure me, but I can kind of get through it, like with like ankle locks and stuff like that. Whereas now I've just been kind of like tapping, just trying to keep my body like not injured, because for like the past 2 years now I've had an injury like constantly.
Yeah.
Legit
So
life.
I don't want
to. Like when you're watching stuff, what stuff are you watching? Are you watching your own tapes, or are you watching like techniques, matches?
Quite probably more matches. I don't really like watching much of myself. It knocks me a bit sick. But a lot of matches, and then they're quite boring out, the instructional, so I don't really watch much of them. But I'm trying to force myself to do like an hour of watching like instructionals a day.
Okay.
Because that's like seems like a task for me to do, so I have to put like a time on it. Whereas like with watching matches, I could sit here all day and watch them.
Yeah, I think me and Si have had a chat about this obviously over the past couple of weeks, and we were discussing the merits of watching instructionals versus watching matches, breaking down matches, and I've taken a lot out of this time that we've spent doing it. But one thing that we did say was like, it's good to watch an instructional, but then what's even better is to go and see that same person put that technique into place in a match. So like some of Gordon Ryan's stuff's a really good example, because he's got loads of instructionals out there, but then you can actually see him put it in place in like ADCC or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing with Lachlan today, because I started watching his 50-50 one. So I've just been on like flow all day, just watching him submit people with it, watching his super cut of the ADCC.
Yeah,
but that kind of got me a bit motivated to watch the instructional. So I think it is good to watch a few matches and then watch the instructional on what he's doing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think the Gordon Ryan ADCC one's a really good one for that, because he sort of goes through the matches whilst explaining what he's doing and showing what he's doing, and he sort of talks through the matches as well.
Yeah, I need to watch that one. Need to somehow get it off the underground. No, I'll buy it. Maybe.
Is there anything that you've watched in the past, or like what's the most recent thing that you can say that you've watched from like a match or an instructional point of view that you tried to put into practice in the gym?
Well, this 50-50 one's probably the most recent one, because there's like a few of us drilling it. But before that, I kind of just watch stuff on Instagram more. So just the video, like the short clips on there, and just try them whilst I'm rolling. And if it doesn't work the first time, I kind of just throw it in the bin and watch a different one.
Yeah, but that's pretty much my judo. For did that John Wick takedown work on Instagram? Yes. Work on all the white belts in the gym. That's what I'm going to go and try.
If it works once, it's in then. It's in the bank. It's in my A game. If it doesn't, I'll never watch the video again.
Never go back to the drawing board. Never make adjustments.
Never. Doesn't matter if it didn't work on that 13-year-old. It won't work on anyone.
So with like your style of grappling, because I've trained you quite a few times, like your open guard and your guard in general is just an absolute nightmare to try and pass. Like, how did that come about? Like, was that from a preference of playing guard, or was it just something that came about intentionally or by accident?
I think it kind of came about by accident, especially like the reverse Della stuff, because when I played gi, I played like a lot of sleeve collar, and then it just got like a bit too tiring to do, I think, and quite boring because it was all I'd done. So I just stopped playing that, and I just started playing reverse Della, because it's kind of like a lazy guard, isn't it? Like if you want to stay there, nobody can really pass as long as you keep your grip and like your frames and stuff. So I think I just started going to that because I was just getting lazy in rounds.
Oh, fair.
Because Steve keeps telling me I need to go back to playing like my sleeve collar, because I was quite good at it. But I think because I was good at it, I didn't find like the challenge of it, if you know what I mean. So I just kind of stopped playing it.
Mm.
Have you thought about it over the years? If you like, you play that position, and then do you add like one thing at a time into it, or do you try and add something like, you'll be trying to put your game plan on somebody and they'll provide a problem that you have to add a solution to and like develop a system off it from the back of that way? Or how would you say that you develop your game or your strategy in that position?
I kind of, I try, I'm always trying to add stuff to the reverse Della, but it's kind of just stuff that's like I figured out in sparring. Like it's not really stuff I've watched. Like I just tried to find like weird grips just to stop people from like progressing anymore. Because I have like a really like reactive type of game. Like I want people to be trying to like come over the top or put pressure on. It's a bit like I love it when people crossface. So like if people crossface, I can come underneath so easily. So I'm just trying to find ways just for them to think they're in a good position, but me to be in a better one, but without them knowing. So I've just been trying to figure out like little weird grips everywhere.
No, that makes sense. And with your sort of like competitive like streak, you're quite active amongst the scene. Is there a reason behind that, or do you just enjoy being quite active?
I just enjoy competing. Like I probably wouldn't train if I wasn't competing. I don't think. I just enjoy the competitive side of it. Like it seemed like kind of pointless for me to train if I wasn't going to compete. It's a waste of time, and they're like 9 hours a day.
So what's like the probably the medium or long term goal then with you competing? Like have you got certain like medals or achievements you want to try and hit?
There was quite a few in the gi, but because I don't really want to do the gi anymore, like I'm just kind of enjoying just learning some new stuff now. Like I don't really like. I want to start getting onto like some more sub-only shows and actually finishing people. Because like the last few I've done, they've just been boring matches where like there's been no subs. So I think just focusing on like submitting people no-gi, that's like the short, mid, and long-term goal at the moment.
Yeah.
Are there any particular matches that you got your eye on or you're keen for?
At this weight now, I'd probably like to fight Den again, just because it was a bit of a shit match. And then I think Jack Brown, if I got back down to 80 kilo, would be a good match because we fought quite a few years back in Scotland.
Yeah.
So I'd like to have a rematch of that because that was another like just boring match where nothing happened. But I think it'd be better now because it's been a few years.
Where did you compete against Jack? Was that up in Scotland or was that down here?
In Scotland, that on the Scottish Grappling Invitational.
All right, okay, yeah.
I think like we mentioned the Ben Hills match. Like me and Bon, we watched it before today, and I thought it was quite an interesting match. To be fair, like both of you's got quite a good guard. Both of you's got quite a good leg attacks as well, and it seemed like I think you succeeded in passing once.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a pass because of the recovery and the retention, and both of you is quite sort of high level.
Yeah, and I think both of us kind of like respect each other's games too much, so nobody really kind of went like we were shooting for stuff, but kind of not shooting to finish, if you know what I mean. You're just shooting to like threaten something.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if we rematched, I think it'd be like because we've figured each other's games out a tiny bit. Like his is probably completely different now. Mine's completely different about them, but I think it'd just be a more like explosive match. I think if we did it again, I think somebody would get subbed.
That'd be interesting. Especially after watching the first one, it'd be interesting to sort of watch the rematch and sort of watch the almost part two.
Yeah.
But like you said that you wanted to go through that match today, so what is it about that match that you sort of wanted to sort of go through and talk about then?
To be honest, it was just that I don't really have any other matches filmed. I had them all on my old phone and they've kind of all gone. So that was like the only like big match. I've got like a few like quick subs, but you can't really talk through them, can you? If it's like the first like 30 seconds, kind of pointless.
Fair true.
Well, we quite enjoyed it. There's definitely a couple of points I want to ask you in terms of like your mindset when you were in the match, or maybe even what you were thinking in the build up to the match. Was that part of the game plan going in? So I think when we get that queued up in a minute, I've definitely got some questions that I want to ask. I'm sure Si's as well. So maybe you can talk us through those.
Yeah, no worries.
We'll get the match queued up and then we'll go through that.
Sweet.
Thanks for watching another episode of the Grapplers Academy. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit the like button and also hit that subscribe button.
And if there's anybody out there that you think could benefit from anything that we talked about today, don't forget to share the video and pass that information on.